welcome back. It's Denisha back at it with another video. You already know. So today I'm going to be talking about my breastfeeding experience. So my son is 6 months old. Um, he breastfed until he was about 4 months. He is no longer breastfeeding. He is strictly formula and solid foods because he's 6 months now, so we give him some solid foods. But I just want to talk about breastfeeding and how it worked out for me and how I felt about it and everything. So I was the first person to breastfeed in my family. So not they just didn't know anything about breastfeeding, which I didn't either. Even though I researched it and talked to people and everything, it's still like a learned experience. You don't know what you're getting into until you get into it. Okay? So with me, EJ, Elijah, I recorded a video.
Oh, my bad.
With me, EJ latched perfectly fine, so there was nothing wrong with his latch. He latched good. He ate good. So like the first month or so, of course you have to feed him like every 2 hours, which was exhausting. Okay, so if you don't have the strength to do this, breastfeed. If you like, I ain't gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. You have to be a strong woman to breastfeed, okay? Because you have to do all the feeds. Because your husband can't do nothing. He just sitting there with useless body appendages. He's just useless, okay? So, well, you are useless during breastfeeding.
You talking about me?
Yeah, you got the boobs.
Tell him how I showed you how to massage your mouth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, so Elijah did help me head express, but other than that, he was useless, okay? Other than that, he was useless. He like, if I pumped, he would feed the baby, of course, but he didn't have any boobies to actually, latch. So, but so you just have to get used to being the only one that could feed them if they're strictly exclusively just breastfeeding and latching on. So that's exhausting because you're not getting any sleep. So on top of not getting any sleep, on top of being the only one that can feed them, on top of being the only one that's waking up. Well, Elijah did wake up sometimes, but it wasn't no point in him waking up. So for you being the only person being able to feed them, that's one. Number two, you have to get used to being, well, if you're not pumping, you have to get used to being stuck. You will be stuck feeding them, like not being able to move or do nothing. So you have to map out time just to sit there and let them feed. If you're pumping, you have to map out time just to sit there and pump. And you have to pump every 3 to 4 hours so you can keep up with the same amount of times your baby's feeding, or every 2 hours in the beginning. And after they like 2 months, they stop eating every 2 hours, but every 2 to 3, 4 hours you have to be pumping or feeding a baby. So that was hard. And there are a lot of good things about breastfeeding. I'm not downing anybody that breastfeeds or anybody that formula feeds, because I did both. It's just very hard to breastfeed, and you have to be like, you have to have the willingness. Is that right? You have to have the willingness to stick through. Yeah, okay. Anyways, you have to be strong enough to stick through it. And not saying women who are formula feeding aren't strong, because we all strong. We push the baby out of us, okay?
All strong, we push the baby out of us, okay?
We all strong. But just that breastfeeding, that's a different type of life, okay? It's a different type of life. And you have to be ready for your boobies to be leaking everywhere for no apparent reason. You hear another baby crying, your boobs are leaking. you just be leaking everywhere. My nose be leaking, my boobs be leaking. I be slobbing, everything. It's just fluids. The baby got fluids. It's just be fluids everywhere on you. You just gonna be nasty. And these are not reasons why I stopped. So I didn't stop for any of these reasons that I'm giving you right now. These are just letting you know how it's gonna be, okay? And everybody's experience is different. This was just my experience. And I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and moms, you know, tell you about this, but they don't go into depth. So I'm diving in. So it's just really tough and tough. But I enjoyed being able to breastfeed him. I enjoyed bonding with him and him being attached to me, and I enjoyed it. I truly did. I was kind of sad when I had to stop. I didn't have to stop, but I chose to stop. But I was kind of sad when I stopped. And I'll tell y'all about that like in a minute. So engorgement. Engorgement. Okay, so this is where E came in. He was a king. Okay, he was my king. This is where he came in and he shut it down. He would massage my milk out. Cause I had EJ on one end, EJ on one hand, and Elijah massaging the other boob. He would take the boob and get all the milk out for me, y'all. He was a trooper. He would get it all out. But engorgement, if you are producing a lot of milk and if your baby's not drinking it all, or your baby's not feeding as much, or anything, you're not pumping as much, your boobs will get engorged and they will be rock hard and they will hurt. Okay, so that's another thing that I don't know if people tell you about or not, but engorgement sucks. Yeah, but you can always hand express or pump or just feed your baby, and that'll solve it. And if you put warm compress on your breast, that'll help too. So tips. Anybody pregnant? Anybody breastfeeding right now? Just lock in. Okay. Another thing is that I don't know if people tell y'all this, but me personally, like my first little part when he was breastfeeding, like when he was latching, the first little part of my letdown, it's called a letdown when your milk first starts to flow out. The first little part of my letdown used to hurt. It used to sting a little bit, but you get used to it. It sting a little bit, and you just like, okay. So it stings a little bit, but you know, you get used to it, and it'll just, you just get used to it. After a while, you just be like, okay, here you go. All right. Now, this is the part I did not like about breastfeeding, pumping, because after EJ was 4 months, I was pumping and exclusively breastfeeding him because I was going to go back to work. I was returning to work, or at least I thought I was. But I was returning to work full time, so he was gonna have to go to daycare. So I would feed him, and then like maybe 30 or 40 minutes later, I would pump. So pumping, ladies, pumping is the most aggravating thing in the world. Okay, if you ain't got to pump, don't pump. But if you got to pump, pump. It's just, you just have to be attached to a pump all day, and it's just all the parts that you got to clean. I got tired of washing pump parts. I got to wash bottles and pump parts. I got tired of doing that. So it's just a lot. Like, I used to have my nursing bra on, have EJ on one side, had a pump on the other side. Or if I was just pumping, I'd just be having the things attached to me, just sticking out the bra. And it's just a lot. It's just a lot. And you just have to sit there I used to pump for about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes sometimes. So you just have to sit there in one spot for 30 minutes. Unless you have the capability of buying like the electric pumps, the wireless electric pumps. Unless you have the capability of buying those, like the Willow or the, I think it's Evolve. I don't remember the name. Unless you have the capability of buying those, they just stick right into your bra or your your nursing bra, any type of bra, and they just stick right into those, and they actually pump you without any cords, and you can just be walking around doing your thing and be pumping. So I had that, but that was like, I got that closer to when he actually was about to stop. So I got that like when he was like 3 months, and those came in handy. Like in the morning when I was exhausted, I would put him on one breast and actually be pumping. And then I'll switch him and then pump this side. So I did like my pumping and breastfeeding in one little sitting. So it's just was amazing, okay? It was amazing. So I did that, and then also you can invest in a hacker, which is just a little silicone suction. I wish I had these products sit right in front of me, but I don't have them no more because I don't do it no more. So the little hacker is like the silicone suction manual pump. So you just squeeze it, suck it onto your breast, and then all of the milk just flows out. And that came in handy too. So I used to put that on one side, put the pump on the other side. I used to just, I used to have everything figured out with this breast pump. Well, not figured out, but I used to have all these products for breast pumping, for breastfeeding and breast pumping, because YouTube and Google was my friend. Okay, eating. Okay. Whew. When you're breastfeeding, your appetite goes from here to here, okay? So you be hungry all the time because most of your fluids and nutrients you're feeding is going to your body and it's going out of your breast. So you have to make sure that you're drinking enough water. You have to make sure that you're eating enough, which my appetite, I normally, just like on a regular day, I don't eat breakfast. I rarely eat lunch. I don't eat until like maybe 3 or 4 o'clock at the end of the day. I eat maybe like a banana or drink a bottle of water, and I don't eat until like 3 o'clock in the day. So that's not good. Don't be like me. Be different. Don't be Dee Dee, okay? Be different. So with breastfeeding, you do have to eat and drink, because most of your production of your milk is going to come from what you're intaking. So water is so important. So before I started back going to work, full time, I was drinking a bunch of water. I was drinking water. I was eating all day. So what happened was with me to make me stop breastfeeding was my milk production dropped, because I returned back to work as a returned back to work full time, and my milk production dropped because I just wasn't keeping up with my pumping, just wasn't eating enough, wasn't drinking enough water. So with that, I had a bunch of milk in the freezer stashed up for when he went to daycare. So he stayed in daycare for only 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks we had enough milk for him, breast milk for him to drink. And then after those 2 weeks, of course I was pumping and everything, trying to replace what he was drinking, but I just didn't have enough milk to replace. So at that point we decided to start doing breast milk and formula. So he was doing both, like a mixture of both. With breast milk, he'll drink the breast milk, and then with formula, at the time we did not know he was lactose intolerant, so we was giving him formula with lactose in it. So we soon found out that he was lactose intolerant because he had some blood in his stool. He was just cranky. He had rashes. So we soon found out he was lactose intolerant. So we had to take him off of the formula that he was on and actually put him on a formula that is for sensitivity to lactose. So it doesn't have any milk in it. So that's when I actually completely stopped breastfeeding, when we found out he was lactose intolerant, because I was taking in dairy products and I did not know. And he had a rash that would not go away. And it would not go away because I was intaking dairy products. So we did not know that. And he also has eczema. But it was like super, super, super bad because I was eating cheese, drinking milk. I was doing all of that too. So I decided to just completely stop breastfeeding, which I could have just took dairy out of my diet, but I didn't want to make any slip-ups because I normally eat cheese. I didn't want to make any slip-ups and actually make him sick. So I just completely took it out of my diet. And I just completely took him off of breast milk because my production was low and I didn't want to make him sick. So I stopped breastfeeding him, and just he's been strictly on formula ever since, which we have no problems out of the formula. He's getting all his feed, he's eating fine. We haven't had any complaints. He was a little, when we did the change, he was a little fussy at nighttime, just going to sleep, but that just could have been because he was having like a sleep regression. So we didn't really know. And then that was only for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. After that, he's been completely fine. He sleeps, he drinks, he eats, he plays. He's a normal baby. He does have eczema, so sometimes he does break out into a rash on his body, on his neck, on his face. But we have creams for that, and once we rub him down in his cream, he's usually good, and it'll go away within a couple of days. But that is why I stopped breastfeeding, and he is now formula feeding. But that is just a little bit of my breastfeeding experience and how it went for me. And I'm here to say, don't let anyone discourage you